Thank you very much, Presiding Officer, and a Happy New Year to all my colleagues in the Chamber, except that is, of course, for Tavish Scott, who, with his constituents, will celebrate it shortly up Heliar, rather than on the conventional 1st of January. Now, my constituents, too, are exceptionalists. Perhaps more than anywhere else, they're taking a keen interest in the negotiations of the UK leaving the EU. And this is because they, rather differently from most of Scotland, can see a local benefit from our doing so. That benefit, of course, is the escape from the common fisheries policy and the regaining of control over our fishing opportunities in our waters out to 200 miles and how they can be exploited by us. My opposition to the common fisheries policy was referred to in my first speech in Parliament in 2001 and was made on the day following my swearing in for the first time. And members have heard me speak of this particular subject on many occasions since. But we only gain meaningful benefit from being outside the CFP if the exit negotiations deliver certain other matters of importance to our fish catching sector. Catching more fish means little if we lose the opportunity to add value to an increased weight of fish through increasing our processing capacity. Yes, skippers can land the increased amount of fish directly to European Economic Area ports. That probably means Norway, and it probably is the case, and thereby make a gain. But the bigger prize, the bigger industry right now is on our shore, on our shore. It can flourish, the entrepreneurial spirit is strong, but needs fair, and this is essential, timely access to export markets. Some products, like the Cullen Skink Scotch Pie I sent to Michael Gove for Christmas, are products designed for delivery by time-variable means, such as the post, and I hope he enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed one for my lunch the same day. But others, such as our world-famous langoustines, halve in value if they arrive even 4 hours late. Tariff barriers are currently less critical with the fall in the pound's value, but if it recovers its previous exchange rate, it may once again be an important matter. Access to markets is what matters, and yet we see no sign that it's a high enough priority in the negotiations. It needs to be. Where we have some greater, if substantially less than full clarity, is in migration. Our fish processing industry's future depends on people from many nations coming and, crucially, being able to settle here. About half of the migrants who've come to the North East in recent years are making a permanent relocation. It's not simply seasonal recruitment, it's permanent employment. Alistair Allen's evidence to the committee suggests that in fish processing, in food, 46% of people in the UK are EEA nationals. And we do know that 70% of workers in North East fish processors have been migrants. And they add huge value to local and national economies, and in particular in the North East, to an area of high employment, where recruitment has long been quite difficult. And they also, of course, enrich our cultural strengths, substantial as they've already been. Now, Cabinet Secretary Fergus Ewing has told us of UK Minister Michael Gove having a sympathetic ear to the issues around fishing and fish processing, and his connections to the North East of Scotland underpin some of his understanding. But for the UK, the industry is a very minor part of the economy, and I share others' concern that it will end up as a bargaining chip, trading away benefits that we expect. Now, while I listened with great interest to Jackson Carlaw, I can say he's in soft focus because I don't have my glasses, no migraine, but no glasses. The secrecy and exclusion of devolved nations, governments and parliaments from the development of the policy and rules that will follow Brexit, and exclusion from the negotiation itself, feeds a paranoia, justified or not, about possible outcomes. But it also has the practical effect of reducing the resource that can be applied to the shared interests of all the nations of the UK, and for clarity, I include England when I say that, in what is the greatest challenge to our future in my lifetime. I'm pleased to note the consensus that's been referred to already, that we cannot yet give our consent as a Parliament to the UK Brexit bill. But the prospect of cutting off migration is the one that's worrying me most. Historically, the Scots are probably the greatest migrants in the world. The cities of Warsaw, Krakow and Gdansk, each of areas called Nova Scotia, or New Scotland, as testament to our outward migration in the late 1600s. Indeed, a Scot has been the mayor of Warsaw on 4 occasions. Today, the 2011 census says there are 55,000 Poles in Scotland. They're our largest immigrant group. Countries around the world would not exist in their present form without our citizens. Canada is the most obvious answer. And my own family, as in others, it continues. A niece, born in Edinburgh, is now a Swedish citizen because of Brexit. Her brother will shortly be a Dane. Leaving the EU, and thus leaving the common fisheries policy, while remaining in the single market and with free movement of people, ticks most of the boxes for most of my constituents, as it does for Scotland as a whole, as it will do for all the nations of the UK. Presiding Officer.